Hey y'all, welcome back to the Power and Lifting Podcast. I'm your host, Solana Lewis. Today, me and Kristen, we have a good amount of topics here. We dive into the new qualifying totals for USAPL Raw Nationals. We talk about the Arnolds and how just the updates we received about the Arnolds for 2024. We dive into what we believe female coaches specifically can do to kind of elevate each other and get ourselves more known in the powerlifting coaching space. It was a really good conversation. I appreciated it. And if you guys appreciate our conversations, please do subscribe to the podcast. Please do share with your friends and leave a rating and review if you're on Apple. And if you're on Spotify, you can still leave a rating, but no review. I appreciate it. And it really helps to get the podcast out to more people. I say that all the time, but lately we have not been getting reviews. So if you do leave a review, I will read it at the start of the next podcast just to shout you out specifically with your name in it and say thank you so much for your review. So that being said, let's dive into today's episode. And we are back, you guys. Another week of the Power and Lifting Podcast. Kristen, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, Solana. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's only Thursday. It's been feeling like a long week for some reason, and there's been like no sunlight in New Jersey. I have not seen the sun in like 5 days.
I mean, I can't even complain about it's raining right now, and I'm going to complain because it's raining, but I live in California and San Diego where it never rains. So the fact that I'm complaining, I know that I'm being dramatic.
Yes.
But it's raining. And
you're like, I don't like it. No, girl, that's fine. It's been raining here too. It didn't rain today, but it looks like it's been raining because like it's just so gray. So here we are. It's all good though. It's all good.
It just means you got to come to San Diego.
Maybe. I appreciate California. I appreciate stuff around it more. Like, I want to go to Arizona again. Like, I like it over there. I like Washington. Like, I don't know. I get to Cali. I'm like, okay, I'm over it.
Okay, I like Arizona. Arizona's fun. Arizona's reasonably priced.
I love Vegas. I'm telling you, ever since we have Mega Nationals, I've been back to Vegas 3 times since Mega Nationals, and I'm just obsessed with Vegas now. I love it. I can only go for like 3 days at a time because you can't be there too long, but I just love it. It's just fun. I go to shows. I like walking through casinos. I don't even do anything. I just walk through them and have fun. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm just like having the time of my life. Like, they never sleep. I'm out all night. I'm eating food at 3 in the morning because it feels like it's 3 in the afternoon. I'm just happy when I'm there.
I have only been to Vegas on a business trip.
Okay.
So I can't say that I've done experience the traditional Vegas experience, but I did get to see the UFC headquarters, and that was my business trip. As we went to the headquarters and talked with all the fighters who have concussions and their brains kind of are a little smushy.
That's cool.
A little smush. Yeah, it's actually really interesting. We put like EEGs on some of these guys' brains just to see, like, you could measure their reaction time, and it was interesting because you could tell which one's been hit in the head a little one too many times.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it was actually a lot of fun. But that was the only time that I went to Vegas, and so obviously I wasn't in Vegas.
All right, so me and you will plan a trip to Vegas. Do a podcast recording there.
Ooh, then yes. When we have like all of our official podcast
equipment,
we should do it in Vegas and just make it like official. Like, this is the first official podcast with high quality shit.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. We'll figure out when we're going to do that. But today, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. And I want to start with talking about how the USAPL published the new qualifying totals for 2025 on Tuesday night, 2 nights ago. And I was definitely in favor of them upping the totals. Like, I even commented on the page like last week when they had, when Raw Nationals like sold out in 2 seconds. I was like, y'all need to up the totals because you're letting people in with no total, number one. Number two, obviously this many people can get in is Nationals. You should make it higher. So what are your feelings about how much they increase the totals by?
They increased it by a lot, first of all. I do think that they should have an increase of a qualifying total. I think that's kind of been well known for a long time. I don't think anyone's ever really argued that. What I will say is that, and I'm looking at yours and my weight class specifically, which is 67 and a half, 475 kilo total. How many women in the primetime session hit that number?
All of us. Because I was
beyond that. Like how many women have hit that number?
You might have to look that up. I don't know how many.
I will look it up.
All right, cool. So you're gonna look that up. Now, what I do like about the increase, number one, it was a big increase all at once, but I know that they actually were looking at the numbers of the people in prime time for the last few years, and that's how they kind of made up these increases. And when you look at it, shout out to Pete Spence, he made a chart that actually shows the change of percentage from each weight class, and it's not even for each weight class. It really is based off of how competitive each weight class is. So you'll see that my weight class, 67.5, has 17% increase, but it's not a secret that we are the most competitive weight class, and it's very simple. Most women or more women weigh 67.5, and then 75 was the next highest, 15% increase. So that's from 417.5 total to 480, but that's also, like, I would say the second most competitive weight class because there's just so many people who weigh that amount. But when you look at the more quote unquote outlier weight classes like 44, which has like not a lot of people because that's really tiny, there's a 3% increase. When you look at the 100 plus, which has less people, there's a 9% increase. So I like that they really based it off of how competitive each weight class is, how many people are in the weight class, and what are the most competitive numbers they've had in the past few years at prime time, and then they based it off of that. And so I'm a fan of how they went about it. And it's going to make nationals very competitive. And I think a lot of people are saying, well, good luck. You're having, have fun with 300 people only at nationals. And I'm like, guys, every time they raise it. So back in 2019 or 2018 when they did a big jump? There was a year they did a really big jump in the totals. I think it was 2019 or 2018. And that year, Raw Nationals still filled up fully with like 1,200 lifters.
Was that before or after they changed the weight classes?
Before weight class change. Yeah, I think it was 2019.
Okay, and they had a big jump. I do remember that. Yeah,
and like nationals still filled up. People said the same thing. Oh my gosh, it's such a big jump. It's like, guys, when you raise the bar, people push harder to get in. That's how sports work. You raise the bar, and if you really want it, you're gonna reach for it. I'm not gonna be shocked if nationals still sells out next year. Hopefully not as quickly, but I think it'll still be full because I think we have so much time. Like it's February 1st. It's June of 2025. Like, people have time to put weight on their total.
Yeah. I will say one of the things that I didn't necessarily agree with as far as the signups is that they were still letting people sign up without having a total. And usually it's the assumption that, they'll do some meet between now and nationals and then they'll have their total. But then what happens if they don't make the total? And someone else who was already qualified was unable to qualify because this person had signed up.
Yep, that is a beautiful point, and I absolutely despise is a strong word. I despise that people were able to sign up without a total because the cutoff to get the total is about mid-August of this year. I think it's like August 17th. If I remember correctly, if I'm wrong, I'm off by a couple of days. Nationals is mid-September. So no one had the chance to sign up when they push people out. Like, no one's going to say, oh, I have 3 weeks. Let me sign up and book a ridiculously expensive flight because now it's too expensive because last second. Try to get a hotel room somewhere. Clearly not at the Me Hotel because that's going to be booked by then. And then let me get a rental car. Like, no one's doing that. So that's really silly. And I'm still frustrated that with the email we received about the changes, they still did not mention changing it to make you have to have the qualifying total before you sign up. So I think they're going to keep the same structure of January. You still get to sign up for the June meet, and it's a free for all. I'm like, this makes no sense.
That's silly to me. I also it makes you wonder what was the purpose of having a pro federation, because basically the pro series, I would argue that they have the qualifying total, correct? Or
yeah, I would say every single person who's a pro has definitely achieved the totals that they put there.
And I know that I think the Arnold, this was when I was still competing USAPL, where you still had to sign up, but they would give it to specific lifters first. And then whatever was left over, others could sign up. But I even remember getting emails, especially for certain ones, maybe because it was like there was different meets going on at the same time. But these certain meets, it was you couldn't sign up unless they gave you an invite. It was an invitation only meet. And I think that with nationals, I feel like it would just make sense to the people who are qualified or considered these pros that they've worked for, or have this window of opportunity to sign up beforehand. And then whoever, chooses not to sign up, then it goes to others. And whether or not others are allowed to sign up with or without a total, I mean, I still think you should at least have a total by the time you're signing up, because like you said, it's then people who drop out, but then at that point, prices for flights, and unless you're a sponsored athlete, you're more than likely paying for all of this out of pocket.
Yeah, and then let's not forget, most people have like jobs and like, hey, I want to take 4 days off now, like in 3 weeks. Like, no. So not a fan of that. Were you able to get the totals?
Yeah, and so It looks like, so this is from last year, nationals, because I know they said that they're basing it off of last year, correct? So it seems like out of there's 11 women in 67.5 kilos. And this is open too, so I apologize. I might be a little off. In the open category, 11 women were able to hit the 475 total. And then I'm going to just check if there's others in I'm sure maybe some juniors hit it as well. Nope. Not that 11 women.
Was it really only 11? Okay.
Unless I'm reading it wrong.
What about the 75 kilo weight class?
75. 75 open with what's 75?
It's a 480 total.
480?
Yeah.
487.
It's less than I thought.
Am I reading the right total point? Okay, wait. Total points. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm reading it right. I thought I was reading like the dot score or something. I was like, wait a minute. No, okay. So yeah, I'm right.
Wild. Though I did hear, maybe I might be false then, about every single pro in the whole series having these totals. I could be false. But anywho, are you just on open powerlifting right now?
Am I what?
Are you just on open powerlifting right now?
No, I'm on the USAPL lifting database.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so I still think with that amount of time, we'll have a lot of people in nationals next year. I do. When I said I think it'll be full, first of all, I still don't even know how many people per weight class they even allow. They said in the email though. They did say in this email, which is nice that they thought about this. I want to read it directly so I don't get it incorrect. Oh, where is it? Oh yeah, clear published lifter caps and dates. Moving forward, we will ensure that all regional, national, and international meets have a clear published date and deadline for registration, caps for meets, and last day finalized schedule. And I'm like, cool, because they never told us the cap for the weight classes for national. So when you went to sign up for it, like when I went to personally sign up for it, the morning after So not midnight, but I tried at like 8 a.m. Like my weight class was full, but I'm sitting here like how many people were allowed? Like I still don't know. I still don't know to this day. It might be out there now somewhere, but I still don't know to this day. It might not be out there. So
are you registered for this year?
Yes, so I will say, now that everything's over, so we as in a bunch of us, like my athletes did it, some other coaches athletes did it, we did a roundabout way where we signed up for a wrong weight class, and then we just all switched our weight class when they allowed us to switch it. And it worked out. It worked out.
Now you better keep that secret. Now everybody knows.
No, it's not a secret because they raised the total so high. We should not have this issue next year, hopefully. Like, it's not, I refuse to keep a secret. Like, it's already out. People, even the state chair in New York went up and made a post the next day. Like, hey, like basically saying, I see like people sign up for the wrong weight class. He was explaining like how basically there would have to be enough people dropping out of that weight class for you to take the spot and fill it, because he saw that it was super obvious. I mean, come on now. We have people from the Pro Series. I was signed up as like a 90 kilo lifter. Like Sam Calhoun was 44 kilos. Carmen Who was 56 kilos. Like, oh yeah, we're all gonna just gain 35 pounds. Like, it's not a secret. People know. People DM me, like, I think I see you as a 90. Like, people are hitting me up. Like, people who I barely talk to hit me up. Yes. So it's not a secret. Sam was posting on her story, people hitting her up, like, question mark. She would just respond, N-O, period. Like, no, I'm not going to say anything. Like, that's why I don't care to say it now. But then all of a sudden, like, last week, I think last week, my coach Brad texted me. He's like, change your weight class right now to let everybody change. And I don't know why, but everybody could change their weight class. I don't know why that happened. Who knows? Because this was a mess of a sign up. But yes, everybody could change their weight class. So yeah, here we are. So yeah, it's a mess. I don't like how it's a mess at all. But overall, I will say the reason I'm happy they upped these totals by a lot is because it could bring a lot more light to regionals if they make regionals. I think they need to give regionals like a total that you have to achieve before you go. That's what I prefer, or at least starting that next year, because this year's regionals like that, sign up started already like today, I think. So like for next year, that'd be good, because if people don't know this, in order to qualify for nationals starting in 2025, you must hit your qualifying total at a state meet or regionals or a pro meet or another national meet, meaning like you already are in nationals and you just keep hitting it at nationals. That's what you have to do. They only officially announced that again like 2 days ago, and at one point they put in an email like at the bottom of an email like months ago, and people still didn't know this. So yeah, you have to do states or regionals or pro meet or nationals to even get into nationals. I like that too, because now you have to really be more competitive at these smaller meets.
Didn't they make that rule before?
Nope.
At one point, I feel like they did, but then it was just never enforced, or it was talked about, because this is not new. I remember people talking about it, so maybe it was never enforced, or maybe it never went through. But I actually don't disagree with that, because if you can qualify at a local meet, what's the point of having state or regionals? So that I can actually get behind.
Yeah, I'm a fan, because for my athletes too, I remember like last year I had a few athletes do states, and they were hitting me up like, I'm so nervous, like it's states. And I felt bad being like, why are you nervous? And no one, like literally anybody with no total can go do it. People will be there doing their first meet ever doing it. I was like, and I mean, really, I kind of crapped on it. I was like, it's just this equivalent to a local meet with a few more people competing. So there's literally zero reason to be nervous. There's nothing special about it, unfortunately. So that's how I was responding to people. Well, it's the truth. It was the truth. You can do regionals as like your first or your second meet, and who cares? Like, there was no stepping stone to national. It was just in their meet. So I'm very happy, and I do hope that starting next year, I don't know if it'll happen at all. It's just what I hope. They make it so you have to have at least like a bigger total to get into regionals. Right now, you just have to have any total of at least 75 kilos from any meet, meaning you just lift the bar. But I don't think they should make it high. But I think they should make it. What do you mean?
Powerlifting America for anyone who is switching over this year.
Oh, but basically, that's the rule for Powerlifting American Nationals. But that's different because they're such a new fed. I think they should make not high, like relatively lower totals to get into regionals, just so it's like, hey, you have to like try. Like your total has to be higher than 75 kilos. It has to be like, I don't know, something, a red on each side for every lift. I don't know. Like,
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what it was a red plate on every side, right?
no, 75 is the bar with collars on each attempt.
Is that what
That's
it's
what
listed?
No, but like to achieve 75 kilo total, that's a bar with collars.
No, but I'm referring to, you know, the meet in the qualifying meet to compete at PA Nationals upcoming, and there was a meet that was just for basically USAPL lifters who had chosen to transfer to Powerlifting America, and they just have to do a meet to essentially qualify. But there's no qualifying total, so I'm pretty sure every lifter, it was like Russ squats 75.
Oh, okay. I'm like, are you talking about Russ meet? Because there was also a meet in Texas. A lot of USAPL people switching over did, and I'm like, no, they were lifting. Yeah,
no, that one, yeah, because like Gabby Martinez competed, and she actually lifted.
They were lifting. No. Everyone lifted.
This one was in California, and it was just a qualifying meet, and like the total, like Russ, if it was 72 across the board or 75.
No, I think he did one red. I think he did a red for deadlift, so he didn't have to bend down too far to get the bar from the floor.
Did he at least do 2 reds?
No, I think he did one red, like one. You know, gotta keep it kosher. That's what I would do too, though, if I was switching over. Like, why would I put effort? Nationals coming up, but yeah. So
if all else fails and you don't qualify for 25 nationals,
no, do not say that on this podcast. You know what? I'm not gonna go on a tangent, but I'm gonna say it. There were some people who were like, I'm sending to Powerlifting America because I'm mad about nationals, and I'm like, y'all make no sense. Stop thinking Powerlifting America makes sense to join unless you're trying to get to worlds. What is so great about going over? They have way less meets. You have to probably travel just to do a local meet. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Also, at some point, they will start having a qualifying total. They are several years old, so at this point, there's probably not enough people. 1,000 people are not going to sign up for PA Nats. They don't have an issue. It's a non-issue. But if that were the case, they would start doing something like a qualifying total, as they should.
Yes. So, anywho.
In the meantime, we're lifting red plate.
Yeah, but again, yeah. So overall, you ignore Kristen unless you're trying to get to Worlds. Don't switch to PLA for the sole purpose of you're mad about piloting about USAPL Nationals because it doesn't make sense in my head.
I'm kidding. Do not do that.
Do whatever you want to do, but I'm just saying it's not really a solution. What was the second? What's our second topic? Oh, Arnold's. Okay, sorry. Yeah, brain fart, y'all. Okay, so the Arnold's is officially going to be in the Expo Hall this year, and we all had a scare that the Arnold's are going to be outside of the whole convention center because the USAPL sent an email basically saying, like, we can't be in C-Pod like we normally are. We are trying to figure out where we're going to be. It might be outside the convention center, which would have really been unfortunate because, like, we all know the Arnold's is, like, super fun and, like, there's a bunch of sports in it, but obviously you want to be where every other sport that's there. However, though, when I saw them change nationals for 2025 from the fall to the summer, and now regionals is in the fall, if y'all are having your Pro Series finale every year at the Arnold's, which is in March, it wouldn't make any sense to also have nationals then be in the summer. So that really leads me to believe that, like, we're not going to be doing the Arnold's anymore.
That is the vibe. I no longer receive USAPL emails. but obviously I am very aware of what's been published on their social media pages, and the vibe that I'm getting is that this is probably going to be the last year that USAPL at least will be directly involved with the Arnold. There's a lot of other sports I know, and even different federations who will compete at the Arnold, but they're not necessarily in the convention center. And I, I don't know if it would be worth it for USAPL to do something like that and have host a meet that's by the Arnold, but not necessarily in the convention center. But yeah, I'm getting the vibe that this is going to be the final year of USAPL at Arnold's.
Yeah, and it just makes me. I mean, I hope they like say something about this because I'm like, even the Pro Series. I'm like, are we still gonna have a Pro Series? I don't think we're gonna keep having the Pro Series. Personally, I don't think so. Like, they don't talk about it ever, and like even like you understand it's February 1st, and like the Pro Series finale is literally in a month. There's been no mention of it, like not one post about it.
When it initially happened and everyone was hyping up the Pro Series, everyone was talking about it and making it a big deal about it, and you don't hear about it anymore. And I never completely understood it other than like these are some really big meets to do. But I always considered like nationals would be a pro meet, like that's the pro meet. But obviously it changes because pre COVID, essentially, your goal was to get to nationals to compete internationally, whereas nationals now it's as high as you can go. But now they also have or had Pro Series, so you had other things to strive for other than just competing and being a national champion.
Yeah, that was like essentially supposed to be the point. But it makes me sad. Yeah, and get paid, right? And definitely get paid.
Me, yeah,
yeah, like yeah, the top 10 get payouts. But I'm just like, I mean, it looks like there's going to be no more Arnolds, which would have been the Pro Series finale. So I'm like, are you going to keep the Pro Series? You guys don't post about the Pro Series. Like, no one knows what's going on with it. It just to me, and then knowing also, this is public knowledge now, knowing that Brad Couillard stepped down from running the Pro Series because he, for a short period of time, a few months, was like in charge, quote unquote. I'll say quote unquote because like they still had a lot of control over it, like the people on the executive committee. But he was like in charge, and then he stepped down because it wasn't going great. Which I think is fine me sharing because literally it's been months now to see, or like a month at least. But yeah, it just makes me sad. Like there's so many changes happening that just seem to be negative, and I'm just waiting for something to turn around because even seeing how nationals the sign up went so bad. Like people trying to sign up couldn't even sign up because like the site was glitching. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's never happened before. I'm like, what is going on? Like, and then to know that people told the people up top, hey, you should invite the pros first, and then you should make it so people like have to have a qualifying total to get in. Like just giving them tips like that, and like it was all ignored. And then for them to act shocked that like it filled up so quickly, I had to put out that that little post like, "Don't you worry, you can still get in if you're like top 3 at regionals, and if you're a pro." And it's like you should have announced that pros get in first before the signups, and then giving them the chance to sign up first.
Yeah. I'm going to try to say this as neutral as possible, but I feel like oh gosh, how do I say this? There's always been a disconnect with the executive committee and their athletes for whatever reason. And a lot of athletes have voiced their opinions, and not negative way, just kind of like constructive feedback. Hey, these are the issues that we're having. And it doesn't seem until some catastrophic event kind of occurs that then they're kind of forced to make that change. Whereas if they just kind of listen to their lifters beforehand, it could be avoided. And maybe that situation with the trying to sign up for nationals would never have happened. But,
I love how you said that so kindly. If y'all can't tell by my tone, I'm annoyed. So I can't. I'm not even being mean. I'm just annoyed. As a lifter, especially as a lifter who was in the pro series, as a lifter who like literally my client list like is 90% USAPL, and to have people who are striving to become a pro, but to have so much confusion the whole time. Even though I know the people, like I'm so involved, but to be confused because they don't know what's going on it's a lot. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to hearing some announcements. I really think they're gonna announce. I think they're gonna say, "Yep, no more Arnold, no more Pro Series." Like, let's see what happens now.
The thing is, why would you like not tell people? I think as a professional organization, you should be transparent as much as you can. You know, and. Okay, I'm going to say my piece. It's always, and these are emails that I've read, it's always, we did nothing wrong. This is the situation. And placing blame on others. And it's not like, hey, we messed up. We apologize. We should have listened to our lifters. We should have, or at least considered what the athletes are going through to make this better. And then when it doesn't happen, there's always a reason why. And that's always, and this has always been like that, even when I was involved with the USAPL. And maybe that's why I'm a little less annoyed by it, because my views are kind of on the outside looking in, while you're still kind of in the midst of it. But that was something that was always frustrating to me, is that it was never very clear what they were wanting or what they didn't want or what was going on. And it was always this back and forth, and you never knew until like the last second, and then it was a shit show. Did I say that as neutral as possible?
Yes. Don't worry. No one's going to yell at you. If they yell at me, it's fine. No, I completely hear you. It's been a rough time. So I'm going to get off my soapbox. I'm going to get off my soapbox about this. But this is what my therapist says. She goes, okay, so I'm going to get off my soapbox when she like proves her point to me about how I'm maybe overreacting about something. Yes, I'm gonna get off my soapbox, and now the world knows I'm in therapy. It's cool though.
So anytime moving forward, if Solana is going off and I say, Solana, get off your soapbox, are you just be like,
yes, literally take a deep breath and okay, maybe I should calm down. It's a better way of saying calm down. It really is though. Like, what? You say calm down and no one ever calms down. So,
well, it pisses you off, right?
Yes.
Chill. And I'm like, I am chill.
Yes, I'm cold as ice, okay? I'm chill. What?
Relax. What do you mean?
Yeah. And you're like, I see the vein popping out your forehead. Like, what you mean you relax?
Right? Red, and it's like, yeah, I've been there.
Okay.
So this is probably going to be another important one, just as females in this sport, as women in this sport, as passionate in this sport. How do you feel about women's participation? I guess not even just powerlifting, but in sports in general.
Women participation or female coaches?
Both.
Participating. Okay.
I think it's both. It's related to an extent.
Yeah. So, well, the direction I more so want to focus on is like okay, you mentioned something great. You asked Pete Spence like what the numbers were. Actually, can you start with that, please? Because that'll give me a good segue.
So I sent Pete Spence, SBD. Everyone knows and loves Pete because he's just the nicest, angriest Englishman ever, and he'll probably get mad because he's going to be like, I have an American citizenship, so I'm American, but I still have a British accent. Sorry, Pete. Anyway, so I always, when I first started powerlifting, so my first meet was in 2014, and it was a small local meet. Maybe, I think there was 3 women, and I mean, so I won my class, I won overall, but, it was against three other people, like, cool. So I know that the numbers have gotten better, and just I asked Pete basically what the ratio was between men and women memberships, and so I have a long list that he sends within not even 5 minutes. From 1997, I have every single between men and women, and then most recently the MX, which is in USAPL. Participation, but from 1997 up until 2024, the current membership. So I'm just going to look up 2023 just because it's like 200 people, but I think that for 24, but that's just because probably people haven't signed up yet. So last year, females participation, or at least female memberships, was 8498. So 8,498 women. Mm-hmm. Men was 17,596. And this was Powerlifting America and USAPL, so it did not include other federations. And I was actually kind of surprised because I actually thought that it was more closer within numbers. I thought, I knew it wasn't 50-50, but I thought it would have been like 60-40 or something, 70-30.
Yeah.
Like this one is...
Well, I mean, it's 70-30.
Well, it's 70-30, but I thought it was a lot higher than what it was. So that was surprising to me. And so number one is, obviously we want to get, in general, women participating, not just powerlifting, but in fitness. And this is actually something that I've done with part of my research, not my dissertation research, but just as like a project, is women's barriers in sport. And especially women in strength training, we can probably have experienced this, being told that you are manly, or if you keep lifting heavy weights, you're going to like grow a beard and get a deep voice or whatever, and there's still this really negative stigma about women competing, or women, more in strength sports. And that's because, if you lift weights, you're going to have a masculine physique, and you should be feminine, you're a woman, you should, don't lift. And this is actually like me growing up, I had a gym membership. My first gym membership was at Planet Fitness, and I was 18 years old, and I stayed at the cardio machines, and I would do an hour of cardio, and then maybe I did a couple little machines after that. But I stayed away from those dumbbells, because that is where those big old meatheads from Planet Fitness were. And I was like,
the lunk alarm.
Those big, scary, intimidating Planet Fitness people. This was, I think they still had dumbbells. They might have even taken those out at this point. But there was like the free weight area, and I was too intimidated to go over there because, one, I didn't know my way around the weight room. There was never any women over there, so it's like if I was there, I just feel like everyone was just like, why is she here in my corner or something? And that probably wasn't true. This was just how my brain worked. And so I know that's how other women probably feel, because I felt that the same way at one point. And I remember saying to my professor at once, because he was this was the professor who actually got me into powerlifting, introduced me to powerlifting. And I remember saying something to him at some point about like, well, he's talking about lifting and muscle hypertrophy and, exercise 101. And my question to him was like, well, what if you don't want to get bigger? If I start lifting like you're telling me to, and then I get too big? And his response was like, well, one, good luck, because I've been trying to get big for 15 years, 20 years now. It's however long that I've been competing, and I'm still that big. And so one, there's that. Two, it's like, well, if you ever felt that way, then you don't need to. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with this. This was just, I think, his way to calm me down, essentially, was to like, well, you don't have to like lift heavier. You just, once you're comfortable, you stay there. don't try to get bigger at that point. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, you obviously, I think I shared a photo of 21. So here's Solana. She's 21 years old, and she wins junior IPF world championships at 21. And then there's me. It's probably on my story still at 21, or it was when I'm talking about this.
Yeah, I'm about to say making me dizzy later.
On my 21st birthday, and I'm like shit-faced drunk. I was a hot mess, as you can tell. As you can tell, why the reason that I stopped drinking is that's what happens when I drink. So, yeah, we are at very, very different points in our lives. But I think when I was in school, it's like we didn't have social media. I didn't have access to those things. So my only real experience with lifting and women were just what I would see on the internet, which was bodybuilders. And I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not, that's not me, And then I learned, one, that bodybuilding is a very different sport than powerlifting. Two, they're flexing. So even just the way that they pose, it makes them look more muscular than they probably were if they were just walking around. And three, they were probably taking stuff that I did not have access to. So I have nothing to worry about. But I didn't know.
But now you do, because someone accused you recently of lifting heavy and being on stuff. So now you have access to it.
And now I'm actually offended. And I was telling Solana earlier that I've gotten messages before of you're not natty, and it's kind of whatever. Whatever. It's a woman lifting weight a lot in a decent amount of weight, which is probably not the societal norm. So you get comments, and I've learned to ignore them. And then recently, I think I got one, and it was me lifting like I said, I haven't been training. I haven't hit anywhere close to my squat max in a couple of years, right? So this is 50% of my max. So this guy is accusing me of being on PEDs. And I'm actually offended, because I was like, if I was taking PEDs and this was my max, I'd be fucking pissed.
I feel the opposite way. I'd be like, I don't think I've ever been accused of PEDs ever in my life, Kristen. I don't think I've ever been accused of PEDs. I definitely used to get comments for sure, especially more in person though. I feel like maybe because you have a bigger following, because honestly, I have 6K, and that's more recent. Even when I was a world champion, I think I had 2,000. I didn't have enough people caring about me to accuse me of PEDs. But overall, yeah, even hearing those numbers that we're 30-ish% today of the drug tested powerlifters compared to men, combining USAPL and PLA, which is, let's be real, that's what we're really talking about here. So that, I was kind of shocked. I'm still happy because, I started 9 years ago, and that was 2015 that I started. And just you were saying, I won when I was top, there's 3 people competing against me. I won when I won. Sorry, I got second place at Nationals at the junior, because for first place aged out is how I got to Worlds. I don't know how many people were competing, but probably 8, maybe 8 going for it. And nowadays, that's the primetime flight for your weight class.
Yeah.
There's hundreds, but your primetime flight has 8. So it's a whole different time. So I'm still super stoked that it's grown so much. And also the coaching side of it too. I don't even think I knew of a female coach when I first started. Now, to be honest, I wasn't anywhere near as involved as I am now. So, did I look that hard? I don't know. But, I probably didn't look that hard to find a female coach when I first started. But, there weren't really, you didn't hear about a lot of female coaches. Back then, it was Chad Wesley Smith. Who else I know about? My current coach, I heard of him, Brad Couillard. I had heard of Matt Cronin before, because I knew there was some guy my age or slightly younger than me who was coaching. And I was like, what? Because I was so young. I was 18. I was wait, this coach my age? And who else I knew? I heard Joey Flex, because he was getting big then. And whoever else that maybe heard of, I don't know at this moment. I can't think of them. But, like, definitely no female crossed my mind. And so I think it's really dope now that we have so many more female coaches who are really rising and showing that, like, we have athletes going to nationals. We have athletes who are going to worlds and crushing it there. And we are educated and know what we are doing. And one big thing that I have noticed on the female side, because the main question across in my mind is, like, how can we as female coaches, like you and I, and like all these amazing coaches I see, like, really break out more so more people know that we are here and that we know what we're doing? Because we can definitely, do you agree? Like, I still mostly think of male coaches when I think of, like, quote unquote top coaches. And it's just because I feel like they're in my face, you know what I mean? Versus, like, I have to think a little bit harder to think about the female coaches who are crushing it.
Yeah. So, just to age myself real quick, in 2024, I didn't even know you needed a coach. I didn't even know a powerlifting coach was a thing.
Oh, 2014? Okay.
To nationals without a handler. And then this is actually where I met Brad Couillard and his wife. And I don't even think they were married yet. They were just dating. But it was my first nationals where I actually met him and his wife. And she was competing at the time. And he probably competed too. I don't remember. This was so long ago. But I met coaches, Jason from TSG, which I think at the time it might have been him and maybe one other person. Chad Wesley Smith, who ended up coaching me for later on. And then I ended up being a coach for them for a while. But yeah, the coaches that I were familiar with was, I think, pretty much the same who you spoke on. And then as a female coach, I would say, because I didn't know who you were when I started. So the only other female coach that I knew who was actively coaching other athletes was Sam Calhoun. I think I knew Meg Scanlon because we had competed together before, but I don't know if she was coaching anybody at that time. And if she was, it might have been more geared towards personal training. It wasn't for competition. It wasn't for powerlifting. Yeah. So yeah, honestly, the only person that I knew was Sam. Well, and Marissa Inda too, because she was she was the Juggernaut crew. So yes, and that was it. That I knew of, really. I'm sure, like I said, there's probably more, but
yeah, like really that's not who you. Yeah, I met Sam in 2019, so I didn't know who she was yet until then. But so I think what I want to really dive into, what do you think we can do? And I'll start with my ideas as female coaches to really essentially get our names more out there. And I've been brainstorming on this a lot this week, and I can tell you what I see working for the men that I think we need to start doing more of. So when I think of, the male powerlifting coaches, one thing I noticed is that they are very collaborative, even if they are not working essentially together on the same team. So for example, right, me and you have talked about Powerlifting Now a few times, right? And we know Powerlifting Now is who, right? It's Sean Noriega, it's Marcellus, it's Steve, Matt.
Just from different, they each have their own business.
Now, yes, and before Powerlifting Now, because that's still very new, I still thought of all of them together. Like when I thought of Steve, I thought about Sean. I thought about Matt Cronin. I thought about all of them all the time. Why? Because they share each other's info. Like they are very collaborative. They will share each other's posts often. I knew that they refer clients to each other if one of them was full. And also when I look at the stuff they posted before PN Now, like on their YouTube channel, especially Steve, his YouTube channel, he really he shows you how he coaches. He doesn't just teach you great stuff on technique, which is excellent, but he really will dive into how I think about progressing a squat, how I think about progressing the bench, how exactly the tweaks in your bench setup that can make a big difference. And then you'll see them on their pages on Instagram posting content about how they essentially got a client from point A to point B, like their actual processing, like how I helped this person. Like they had a killer meat, but before they had a bad meat, what did I change? And that shows you know how to program. And when I think about that, the only female coach who I can say right now, who I think of, who shows you how they program and really puts out information like that, is Kelly Mann. And I know that for a fact because, well, that's what I see. Because whenever I see her post now, I'm like obsessed. And I thought about why. It's because she's showing how she overcame a struggle with a client who was maybe plateaued and what she had to do to problem solve it. And it's very real. It's not fake. It's not like, oh yeah, and then within 2 weeks I figured out everything no, it's like we had 3 blocks. They had a meet. Their bench press didn't go well at all. And then over the course of 4 more blocks we fixed it, and then boom, they went to rows and won. Like, that's literally what she like shows you. And I think we as females need to start showing how we program. And I don't know if it's just because we don't think about doing it, or if it's because we're like, oh, if I tell people how I program, like they won't want to sign me, kind of giving them all the secrets. But the reality is, like, that's the kind of stuff that made me want to work with my coach. That's kind of stuff that makes me think about who's a quote-unquote good coach. I can just see it.
You're referring to case studies, essentially, is where, like this, taking an individual athlete and troubleshooting what they did to make them better. And that's, I think, a great strategy. And probably one that I should probably start incorporating more into my social media content, because a lot of my content, I think, is just more general recommendations for most, people that you can apply to, as opposed to, and it's probably a good idea to have both, right? As people want to know how to program, but how do you program when someone, like, for example, I posted this on my story, not as a case story or anything like that, but I had a client who's been struggling with back pain, and, obviously we can't really have him squatting and benching and deadlifting the way that you would typically program for a traditional, like, powerlifting style program, right? Because he can't handle that load at the moment. And so I think that's a great idea, is going through the process, what we've been doing. Right now we're going through it, but to get there, so when he's on the other side of it, and what we did. So I think I love that. And I think you also said something about, having different businesses, but collectively shouting out each other. And I will say that, we don't do that as much. I mean, like you said, you were referring to Kelly Mann, and she has her Perform Motion, which is like a group of people. And other than that, I don't really see, so like Meg Scanlon, actually Sam Calhoun, I think she has a second assistant coach now, but for the longest time, it was just her. For myself, I don't have other coaches at the moment who work with me. I think you are a solo coach as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're our own coaches. And so, you're busy promoting yourself, and that's great. But I think that we need to do a better job of promoting each other. And if you have a really good post that I was like, hey, that's a great post, that's a great idea, I should reshare that. And I think that's kind of what you were referring to before, is that, just kind of shouting other people out, other than yourself. Because maybe, to be honest, we always talk about programming and coaching, but a coach relationship is also important. And that's something that I think is, like, a lot of people don't think about, is having a relationship with your coach. You need to. And maybe my personality just doesn't vibe with someone else's personality, and maybe they would just feel like they would, connect better with you. And that's okay, right? And I would want them to be with someone who I think is a trustworthy coach, and can refer them to someone else. Or if I'm full, usually I'm just like, I don't refer people out. I just, it's like, I'm full, I'm sorry, I can't take you on right now. But yeah, if I'm like, hey, I can't, but this person can, It's probably a easy way to, it's an easy way to market for sure. And it's simple, and we don't think about it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
and I think too, like a reason people might think that would potentially be like, oh, like I don't want to like push them to someone else is obviously like you're trying to again focus on your own business. But what I've learned is like when you have like a good relationship with another coach, like you guys end up helping each other, and it helps you overall if you're like more public about like your postings and being like if you're on board with what the other person is posting, it just helps you overall grow a following together. Like it doesn't typically take away from your business at all, and it can be very, very helpful. Like, I've even had a couple of people I have on my roster now who's been referred to, not necessarily by female coaches, but who've been like, hey, like I'm full, but I think this person would be a good fit for you, blah, blah, blah. And then that person ends up with me, and then they end up like getting a friend to go to the coach that they want to go to, or to go to me. Like both, because they respect the other coach, but they also like me. Like it literally just helps. Like it grows that way. So I think that's one little thing. That's the little thing that's missing. Like especially when I think, and I don't know how realistic it is for people to start doing seminars, but like I do know too that like my coach Brad had done a seminar before where it was him and Sean Collins and I feel bad. There was another coach that I can't think of right now. But I mean, like they do seminars together every once in a while, and so I associate them all together, and I know that they all have similar coaching styles, and I just appreciate knowing that because it helps me like just know how they actually are as coaches. Like it's just helpful. I think we just need to we could just do a bit more collaborating and not all be super individual and not promoting each other.
No, I 110% agree with that. I'm not going to mention names, but I'm sure people know what I'm talking about, so that's fine. When I chose to leave my coach, and I was also involved in coaching, and I also consider this person my friend. And after nationals, anyway, won't go into detail. I decided that it was time for me to move on. I wanted to seek coaching elsewhere. The problem is that I was also affiliated as a coach, and I was told that I was not allowed to get coaching outside of this current coaching circle. And so that kind of put me in a position where I had to make it. To be honest, I had already made this choice because I already knew that was going to be the response, and I was already prepared for it. So I knew at that point that I was going to be stepping down as a coach. But I said what I needed to say. And then when my response was, you can get another coach, but they have to be within our group. And at that point I was like, hey, I understand, but I will be stepping away from my coaching responsibilities moving forward. And I don't agree with that at all, because it limits you to these people. And just because even me as a coach, like you have a coaching business and you work with Brad, right? And it's a separate business. And I would not say, and I think the worry was that if I'm getting coached with someone else, then we're going to lose our like coaching business, or it's going to look bad on us or whatever. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's the way that you get as coaches, the way that you become known, is you get to know other coaches, you get to know each other in the community, and we just kind of we spread the love, bruh. Spread love.
No, but you're right though. You're right though. People tend to be nervous about sharing stuff, if you're with this coach, then everyone's gonna think we suck. Like I don't actually think that way. If your clients respect you and you do right by them, no one really thinks that way. You have to, like, if they leave you to go to the other coach's coach, like, that's because you probably were not servicing them in the way they wanted to be served. service. So, like, that's probably what it was. It wasn't just like, hey, I'm just gonna really switch over. I'm having the time of my life. I'm getting stronger. This person responds to me. They're always on time. They're on top of their stuff. They clearly care about me. But I'm gonna leave because I saw this guy on an Instagram post once. Like, no one does that. No one does this. So yeah, I agree.
If the athlete is feeling fulfilled, unless they're like kind of the ones that kind of jump on a bandwagon and be like, oh, well, I want to do this and this and this and this, and then like I have a client now who's like obsessed with West Side, and I'm like,
no. That happened to me one time, and we had to bid our dues at one point. It was very mutual, though.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, well, we'll see. But they're open-minded, I think, to suggestions, so that's why it's okay. But they're sometimes like, oh, well, I used to do this when I was doing West Side. I'm like, oh yeah, how did that go? But anyway, yeah, I don't think that, if I even, if I'm sleeping, so right now, just because I haven't really been powerlifting, I'm just doing my own coaching, and I'm actually considering doing, I think I told you track and field, which will be amazing because I suck at it. And so specifically the throwing, so I actually have a throws coach.
Oh!
And I'll probably do like an event just for fun. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll be good at it, and then maybe that'll be like my new passion. But even as like, I even say even coaches have coaches for the most part, right? Because I think it even just as myself, if I have a question about something or if I'm unsure, and it's always nice to get a second opinion about something. And I do this a lot, like even in like any post that I write. So me and Alfred will like write our posts. And then we'll always, I don't know if you're familiar with Kedrick Kwan. He's the, you know who he is. Okay. So he'll kind of like look it over and then maybe offer some suggestions or things to fix, just because it's like maybe that we miss or that I didn't think of. And so it's always good just to have, another perspective, because when it's so easy when it's just yourself to like keep this blind eye. And yeah, I think having this open communication with us and other coaches is going to be good for the sport, and especially for women, as especially as new lifters are coming in, and maybe for whatever reason, I've had clients who reach out and they just happen to be more comfortable with working with a female because, I've had period cramps and I know what it feels like to train, and with my, it's like these experiences that we have. And so maybe if they see that there's more female coaches and wanting to, feel comfortable, and this I'm generalizing too, so I don't think this is like I see plenty of women working with male coaches, and I have several male clients. It just kind of it comes down to a preference in some cases, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's it. Do you have anything else? Any other ideas for more female coaches to push our names?
More ideas? I think we just need to spread the word, spread the marketing, and, do a better job of talking about ourselves as coaches. And not even just because I don't want to be known as a good female coach, right? I just want to be known as a good coach.
Yes, I love that.
I think that's important too, I want to be a good coach, and you should be a good coach, not a good female coach. Or good. How like men be like, oh, like this happened last week. I went to a different gym. Oh wow, I was literally doing secondary RPE 5 pop squats. That's like 300-ish pounds, right? That's pretty good for a girl. I hate that comment. I don't want to be a good coach for a girl. Like, you're a pretty good coach for a girl. Like, no, I just want to be a good coach. That's it. Strong
for anyone.
I'm just strong.
It's for real though. Oh, I think one other thing I could do, just thinking about this platform alone, like I have had a lot of female, obviously y'all know this is mostly a female podcast, I interview females, and some of the athletes who I've interviewed,
I I have a male client who listened. He called me up because I was talking about him last week. He's like, he sent me like a screenshot of, I guess he has it on like a transcript. He's like, oh, I wonder who that was about. I'm like, oh.
Oh, that's my favorite. Yo, my clients be like, "You're talking about me." I'm like, "Yes, I am." You best believe any post I make on Instagram or anything I talk about on this podcast is truly something to do with the client experience, and that's how I have something to talk about. But anyhow, I was just gonna say, I think I could have some of the people who have had come on as athletes come back and talk to me, and we can have a coaching conversation. That's one thing I can do with this podcast, because I definitely mostly talk to female athletes as athletes, and I haven't done a coaches roundtable in over a year. I did a female coaching roundtable towards the end of 2022, and people really liked it. And I definitely was like, yeah, I gotta do it again. And here we are, 2024. It has not happened again. So I think that's something else I could do as well. To the listeners, if this idea sounds good to you, tell me who you want to hear from. And if you're a coach and you're like, maybe I have something good to say, hit me up, but then tell me what you want to talk about. Be specific. Don't just hit me up and say, I want to talk to you. I need more details. No, I've had that happen before. Someone's like, hey, and I'm like, but do you have a topic that we're going to dive into? Because, yeah.
As far as coaches, maybe not even limit it to just women. Because I'm sure you and I can find plenty, but if there's someone that you think that like, hey, this person, we could all have a conversation together and talk about everything together, I think that would be really cool too, because then you're getting a broader perspective.
Ooh, okay. If y'all are interested in that, let me know, because my heart just skipped a small beat as you know what it is? This is one thing I've been thinking about it a lot. I started this podcast as like the female. Essentially, I started it because I was obsessed with 2 White Lights, and I appreciate King of the List, and I didn't like how they didn't highlight the woman enough. That was the entire energy behind this podcast. So I clearly, if y'all haven't noticed, stuck to woman. So if you would like some male energy on the podcast, but within the conversation where we're all talking about coaching, maybe I even have more than one guest, and it's a guy and a girl plus me and Kristen, something like that, like, let me know, because I'm more hesitant to do it. Clearly, just purely from the bias of me, the energy I had started the podcast. That's it. It's nothing wrong with it. So if you would be interested in it, let me know. Because if y'all don't tell me you want to hear it, don't get mad when I don't do it. Okay? You have to literally DM me.
I am always open-minded. And I always have this way of thinking with like coaching philosophies too. Like, even some of my coaching stuff that I did when I first started, I'd probably cringe now if I were still like, if I'm like, oh God, of course,
me too.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you. But that's how it is. Like, I mean, just me being involved in research and in school, and, you know, just keeping an open mind as like new evidence, whatever comes out, to be able to change, say, hey, you know what, based off of what we know now, like, I was wrong. And so in reference to this podcast, I would say it's always cool to, you know, to grow and evolve as needed. And that's what I always think about as cool. It's like I don't know, just life.
You know, I'm just saying,
Kristen,
that was a deep moment.
Words of wisdom.
That we're going to end every podcast with Kristen's words of wisdom starting now.
Yeah.
You just know, because I'm still in shock I have a co-host. You know what I mean? I'm like, geez, y'all trying to stretch me this year. Fine. Y'all trying to get me to do new stuff. Fine. But I'm also open to growing. That's why I'm here. I love having you, by the way. I'm just saying, I'm just in shock that like I'm doing more open stuff where I was like, this would just be me talking in the microphone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's grown a lot. So that's dope. And if you want to hear it, y'all hit me up.
I think, didn't I just send you a DM and just kind of, I think I messaged you and I just, it's like, hey, is this something that you would be open to? Kind of, because I just wanted, I liked the fact that you had a podcast that was directly towards women. And that's why I reached out to you directly, and you being a solo, I didn't know if you wanted, you know, someone or not. You could have said no, and that would have been fine, but I just figured I'd, you know, reach out. And I think that you and I have gotten a lot closer just by having these conversations, because before then it's like I knew you and we were cool with each other, but I consider you a friend now.
Yeah.
I know you, and we can talk shit and shoot the shit, and it's fun. So I think what we need to do with other people is just make an effort to get to know other coaches.
No, I do love that because, like, what you're really saying too is, like, guys, if you have something on your mind, you're like, I think this really would be good, like, take the step and reach out. Like, it could turn out great. It could be fantastic. When you hit me up, I remember reading it, and I remember I put my phone down, I was like, do I want to co-host? Like, it did not cross my mind. I had to just think about it. I was like, okay, and I invited you on for a conversation, and I kept inviting you back. I was like, I need to make sure we vibe. Like, and I was like, hey, why not?
Yeah,
it's literally why not? And here we are. And so far, I've loved it. Plus, I've had people DM me like, I love that you have a co-host now because you guys have great conversations. I've had at least 5 people DM me recently, and I'm so happy about it. And not just clients too, like not just clients, people like random people. I'm like, oh, yay!
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm happy to hear that.
Hey,
it worked out. See, and all I had to do was slide in the DM.
Yes. Shoot your shot, y'all. Shoot your shot. On that note, we had Kristen's words of wisdom. We had a good conversation. I'm excited. Thank y'all for listening. Kristen, thank you again for another great podcast.
Thank you, Solana, as always.
And y'all, catch you next time on the Power and Lifting Podcast.